Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the desk, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoker Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Well, boxing threw another curve at us. We've been talking a lot about the Spence-Pacquiao fight, and everybody's been looking forward to it. And Spence pulled out the other day. He has a retinal tear, and so that fight's off. So now Pacquiao is going to be fighting Ugas, who I like. He's tough. He's got a WBA belt, but I don't see him. This obviously is going to have the magnitude of the Pacquiao Spence. But your thoughts on that?
Claudio, Spence didn't pull out. He was injured. You know, he has a retinal tear in his eye.
Tomato.
This is a career-threatening injury when you get an eye injury like that, Claudio.
But Tyson Fury, he pulled out there.
Tyson Fury,
that was
one is having surgery,
Okay.
The other is buying cars at a luxury car dealership. So let's not go there, Claudio. Facts are facts, and the fact is Spence has an eye injury. He had the whole world at his hands. He was fighting Manny Pacquiao, an 8-division champ, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I don't know what happened. There was some bad sparring put out there. A guy was really getting into it with Spence, and somehow his eye got damaged. It's sad what's happened to Spence over the last couple years. The car accident, now he's on the precipice of the biggest fight of his career, and he gets an eye injury. It's sad. One of the greatest welterweights of the era right now, and injuries, car accidents are kind of derailing this. I think he'll be back, though.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about his future. But, Jim, your thoughts on him not fighting? We won't say pull out to help out.
It's
Luther,
a surgery.
The surgery, pulling out, whatever you want to say. Jim?
Well, he got the same eye doctor as Sammy Davis Jr. Hey, listen, this is a guy that's a major disappointment. You know what I mean? Listen, I would strip him of his belt. First of all, nobody spars a week before a fight. That is a no-no in boxing. You know what I mean? I don't believe all this stuff that's coming out. He's pulled out of fights. He's been disappointment.
When has
before.
he pulled out of a fight before?
Listen,
that's fake news.
When he had the car accident.
That's not pulling out of a fight. It's a car accident.
That's pulling out.
You
go 200 miles an hour in a sports car, a convertible with the top down.
What are you talking about?
You're pulling out of a fight.
Jim, this is the Boxing Authorities. We speak from position of authority, not positions of make-believe and Smokopedia. He had a car accident, Jim.
Well, I thought he was trying to commit suicide. I always thought he was trying to commit suicide.
Spence.
So now all of a sudden he got an eye injury a week before the fight. You know what I mean? This guy's a major disappointment. I would strip him of his belt. I tell you what, I got a lot of respect for Pacquiao because he's stepping up. He's fighting a champion that's in shape that was going to be on the undercard. So this is a great fight. Listen, as far as the hype, Pacquiao was carrying the hype. Earl Spence is not a draw, so it's going to be the same hype and buzz.
That's a good point.
Pacquiao was carrying.
No, stop that. Stop. That's not true either, Jim.
Pacquiao is the headliner.
Okay, he is the headliner.
Yes.
Of course he's the headliner,
Yes.
but you're saying Spence isn't a draw?
No.
His last 3 fights were on pay-per-view, and they all did well. Spence,
but
Garcia.
pay-per-view is not a good. That's not a determining factor.
But listen, if he's not a draw, it wouldn't be
Ariel
on pay-per-view.
Ruiz was pay-per-view,
and that wasn't a draw. Spence's last, and he won't be on pay-per-view again. Do you agree with that?
Right.
Okay, Spence's last 3 fights against Danny Garcia, pay-per-view. Yeah. Sean Porter, pay-per-view. Mikey Garcia, pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't a draw, if he wasn't selling, they wouldn't be on pay-per-view.
I think what Jim's saying is that the
nobody's
probably aren't going to go. Well,
nobody compares to Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
His pay-per-views have always been good. This would have done
think,
very well.
Thank you.
But do you think that the numbers will go down?
Of course they're going to go down, and that proves my point. They're going to go down because Spence isn't competing against Pacquiao. Right. He is a draw, Smoking Jim. You're not going to disrespect Errol Spence, a champion, an Olympic champion on this show while I'm here. He is one of the best.
If he was horse manure, he couldn't draw flies, and it.
Whatever. All I know is he's been on pay-per-view 3 times in a row. This would have been number 4, and he all have done good. So stop disrespecting that man.
He's the pound-for-pound glass-eye champion of the world.
Well, now let me ask you. You talked about his future. As soon as I heard the eye, What'd you think of? I thought of Sugar Ray Leonard.
Exactly.
But obviously, Sugar Ray came back.
He came back.
The eye is not something that you play with. Now, he says he's coming back. He says he's going to come back quicker than people think.
And I believe so. This man came back from a horrific car accident. His face was bruised up. And you have to wonder, that car accident, has that caused
that was a big
him to
hit.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
When
His face was
when I heard
damaged.
about the eye, I thought of Dwayne Bobbitt.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't think of that at all.
I
didn't think of that.
I had nothing like that. But listen, he can come back. Spence is a tough guy. He's going to have his surgery. This is not fake like, these guys
How long do
faking
you think
COVID.
it'll take for him to come back?
Maybe beginning of next year, possibly.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe, and then
Spring.
The good thing about this is one
Something
of those
good?
two will have the
Something
WBA.
good?
One of these two guys will have the WBA. It should have been a unification
Right.
for all three belts. I don't think Manny Pacquiao should have been stripped and given to Yordenis Ugas. I think we have some Ugas highlights where he was fighting Sean Porter, but I think this.
Journeyman.
It may be a journeyman.
Olympic announcer.
Listen, but Ugas is Cuban school.
He's tough.
These guys are tough. He doesn't have a lot of power. He's going to give it his all.
He's not going down either.
And I think he's
tough.
going to be a 50-50 fight.
Great
You know what I
Really?
mean? Yeah,
Great
I
swimmer.
think so. Because,
swimmer.
listen, Pacquiao was preparing for a southpaw like him. Now, all of a sudden,
that's
it
next
switches.
question. How big of a difference do you think it's going to be for preparing for Ugas real quick than it was for Spence?
Well, softballs always give fighters a problem, and Pacquiao's no different, even with all the experience. But Pacquiao's a warrior, you know what I mean? Even at this age, he didn't have to take this fight, but he's going to fight. He's doing it for the fans.
Do you think this is a benefit for Pacquiao? Because a lot of people said he hasn't fought in 2 years. Now he's going to fight somebody who's not as good as Spence, tough, but not as good as Spence.
Says who?
I don't think
His
I've
record
been
says so.
saying
The
Ugas
number
is
of
tough.
belts. Is he a
I like
champion? Is he
Ugas. I thought he
undefeated?
beat Porter.
He got 4 losses.
I like him, and I think he's tough. But he's not Spence.
He's nowhere near Spence.
But do you think that? What are your thoughts about it?
We saw Porter rock him a little bit there as we look at some of the
I see
highlights.
Porter running.
Hey, but he rocked him there.
Yeah, I
He
see
rocked
him
him.
running.
And Porter's
he's
good.
tough.
Porter's tough.
Porter's tough.
I've
But
always liked him.
Ugas, he has
He could tie
nice
his ties a little
he
bit
has-
better, but he's tough.
He has nice, and then I thought this was
Ooh.
a knockdown. It
Yeah,
should have
yeah.
been called
Yeah.
a knockdown,
Yeah.
but Jack Reese.
That's your boy.
Jack Reese
Jack Reese.
again. Didn't call it a knockdown. He knows it was a knockdown. Even look back.
He knocked
But
one of his
Ugas kind of
brains
stiff in
loose.
there. I think Pacquiao's going to use his speed. You would think Ugas would be a little better. He's long, but I think Pacquiao clearly has an advantage.
You think it's a benefit for Pacquiao that Spence pulled out?
Yeah, because I think Spence was going to knock him out cold.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think this is definitely a benefit. He gets a lighter touch in Ugas. Ugas is going to come to fight. I just don't think he has the
LASIK
skills.
surgery, but he want to knock somebody out. Come on.
I think it's good for Pacquiao because he's going to get some of that ring rust out against a guy who's not on the same level as Spence. I think
I agree,
that is
Claudio.
key. And it'll be good to see Pacquiao have a belt. But again, Ugas is not going to just lay down. I mean, he's a tough guy, and I think he's going to definitely push him. And we're going to go into the fight a little bit more as it gets closer. Hopefully it does happen. Anymore, you don't know. But a fight that did happen that we talked a lot about that we thought that the old saying, that's why they play the game, is when Michael Coffey lost to a sub, Jonathan Rice. He was supposed to fight Gerald Washington and pretty much walk through Washington. But instead, he got Jonathan Rice with a 13-6 record, 13-6-1 record. He didn't win a round. Coffey didn't win a round. What were your thoughts on that?
I was impressed with Jonathan Rice. Last time I saw him, he was getting destroyed by F.A. Ajagba, but he came back. He trained hard, and he was just winning. He has all the skills that he should be a solid heavyweight. 6 losses and not great competition. That was unexpected, and I think we saw some of Michael Coffey's limitations. He's a bruiser. He's 35 years old, and he couldn't get past that jab. It looked like he stopped, and I think we have some clips we're going to show too.
All right.
But he didn't look good at all in that fight.
Is it because Coffey isn't as good as we thought, or Rice put it to him?
I think Rice put it to him, and Coffey's limited. He wasn't throwing a lot. Rice,
Look at
that long.
He dropped that left, and Rice connected
look
right
at
away.
that. I mean, he's covering up. Usually Michael Coffey comes in and
Right.
he really goes after it.
Rice is a big boy, too.
Now, do you know it's bad when the referee says you want me to stop? Jonathan Rice sits back. Oh, you want some more? Bam, and then ends the fight. That was pretty impressive, man. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I thought Coffey was supposed to be a showcase. Jonathan Rice has skills. I hope he keeps it up.
Me too. I think he's good for the sport.
Oh, yeah.
His personality, which you like personality. You like some stories. And starting off with a 13-6 record. But before I ask you that, Jim, what did you think of the fight?
Well, you know, a lot of people don't know I'm friends with Jonathan Rice.
Really?
When my brother
that means he's going to rip on him in about 10
Here it
seconds.
comes.
When
Go
my
ahead.
brother lived in Columbia, South Carolina, he was a little kid we used to take to the barber shop all the time. And well, not anymore, you know, he'd go get Rogaine maybe. But he was a great basketball player, great athlete. He went to college to play college basketball on a scholarship. So he's a very talented guy. Puts me in the mind of a little bit of like a Buster Douglas. Got into boxing really late. You know, this is a guy now. He's a motivational type kid. He speaks it into existence. A lot of people believe in him. So I wouldn't be surprised if his career is pointing up now because he does got all the raw talent. He just don't have a lot of boxing in his background.
Usually when Jim says he likes somebody, then he nails him. But let me ask you this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Real
ahead.
quick.
Go ahead.
Hey, now, come on, Jim. We know why you really like him. I think we have some video of Jonathan Rice before the fight. Can we? This is why, Jim, all those runs making it rain.
They were
Come on,
runs.
this is what you all taught them. Y'all weren't taking them to get haircuts. Y'all were taking them to make it rain in the club, Jim. Come on, that's why you like them, Jim. Tell the people. I got all the video. I got all. You got Smokopedia.
We got
I went
Wikipedia.
Smokopedia.
That's right.
That's why you really like them, Jim.
Let me ask you guys a question, though, especially you and I growing up. You had a 13-6 record. You weren't going to crack the top 15. Right. Okay, now, if he's going to, he may fight, this is just me saying, you know who he may fight? Would I like to see him fight?
Who'd you like to see him fight?
Guess.
Don't say Louise Ortiz.
No, Joyce.
Oh, Joe Joyce? No,
Joe Joyce.
he's not. He's
But
not gonna fight.
I think he'd beat Joe Joyce.
Oh, no,
Let me
he
say,
wouldn't.
a guy with a 14-6-1 record never cracked the top 15. And one of the segments we're going to have in another show, we're going to compare some eras, top 10 to top 10. It just hit me to do that. I'm a pretty creative guy, if you guys haven't noticed that already.
Man.
But what do you think? Do you think he has a chance to make some noise in the heavyweight division?
Well, no, I don't. I think that was the best Jonathan Rice we've seen. You know, he's a journeyman fighter. He'll win some and lose some.
He says he's going to turn it up. Lou.
We'll see. I got to see more than one fight against Michael Coffey to see
But
if he really
skill-wise,
turns it
he
up.
looked like he has.
Skill-wise, he has it. He's an athlete. He has long arms. He has some solid power.
270 pounds.
Yeah, 270 pounds. So he should be better. He shouldn't have a 13-6 record. He shouldn't have gone out against F.A. Ajagba the way he did.
Right.
So we'll see if he takes the sport seriously. Lennox Lewis talked to him before
Yeah.
the fight. I think that gave him a lot of encouragement.
Sure
So he does have skills. So we'll see.
Don't listen.
One of the greatest. One of the greats, Smoking Jim. Destroyed two of the guys on your top 10.
Well, I think if he turns it up, he does have some skill. For a man his size and his thickness, he's pretty fluid. He's not clumsy. He's not awkward. And I'd like to see him make some noise. I think he's got the personality, like you said. He's got a story behind him, I'm sure.
Yes.
And people have to let him know who he is and what he is.
We got to see if his
I got
heart
some
is there.
stories for you too.
I know you do. I know you do.
That's why he wants Rice to do well.
We got to see if he looked great that fight, but he didn't have a whole lot back coming back at him. You know, when we saw him look bad before, it was F.A. Ajagba was firing some heat, and he kind
Now,
of
what would you do? Now, Jim and I always talk about managing fighters, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. So if anybody's ever interested, get in touch with us. Luther, I'm not too, like,
You
we
gotta push
talk
him.
about
No,
Vargas, throw him in the deep end.
listen,
Somebody that's 2-0, let him fight
you
Tyson
guys
Fury.
like to marinate fights,
No.
and this is why we don't get it.
It's
Listen,
managing the right way. It's a business.
No. Marinating fights is why we didn't get Manny Pacquiao and Floyd forever. Marinating fights is why we don't have
That's
Crawford
different. That's
and
not
Spence.
managing a career. We're talking about somebody
No, that's
in Rice's
marinating
position.
fights.
Okay, but we would have set that fight up too sooner.
You
Excuse
said
me.
you're
But
moving
we're
towards
talking about
me.
younger guys. We're talking about younger guys with a certain record. Who would you put him up against?
Who, Jonathan Rice?
Yes.
He's 13
Excuse
and
me.
6. He has to get way more than a victory over a 9-0 Michael Coffey. You know, you want to try to maybe see if Luis Ortiz has not been active. Try to get him in
Right.
there with Luis Ortiz.
Now he's
you know?
he's around 35 now, Jonathan Rice. All these guys
Yeah.
are up in years.
You know?
But again, I think Jim may agree. You don't want to put him in against one of the top 5 guys, even though I just said fight Joe Joyce. I think
Don't do it.
he
Don't
might
say
beat
it.
Joe
Oh,
Joyce.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
I would favor
Come
him.
on.
I would favor
Because
him against him.
He got
I don't-
6
I'm-
losses
I
for
mean,
a reason. That jab, he's going to have
I don't.
to-
I think it's a different Jonathan Rice. I think he's going to be more confident now. He's going to take it more
After one
seriously
fight.
now. I think it's a wake up call.
Okay.
I think it's a wake
I
up
need
call.
to see more.
I would like. Okay, it was not a long fight. Maybe fight again in what is this, August? Fight again in October. Fight somebody. You know, make more noise. Then challenge Joe Joyce or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely would do that. I'm telling you, this kid is very athletic.
Yeah,
If you
I like him.
see the way he was moving in the ring.
There you go.
You know, soft feet like
Yeah,
a
we
Buster
always talk about all
Douglas.
the time. That's right.
6'5", 270 pounds, and I tell you what, he is still learning the sport, and now he got the confidence to move forward. I like him.
And everybody said he was going to lose that fight, and he
Yeah,
heard it
everybody.
too.
He was set up to lose the fight, just
Right.
like we saw some fights this weekend
Right.
where guys were set up in the scorecards. I had some questions in this past weekend's scorecards.
Yeah. Well, real
Michael
quick before we-
Fox was robbed. He won that fight.
Well, yeah, we're going to get to all that we'll next after the break. But real quick, what do you think's next for Coffey?
Yeah, Coffey got to go back to the drawing board. He looked very basic. You know, he has to start again. He's 35. He's up there in age. You know, he may have to just be a journeyman. I didn't see much skill. I didn't see much power. I didn't see much
do it,
heart.
much anything.
You know, he grabbed it at the eye and pretty much quit. He reminded me of Anthony Joshua when he quit against Andy Ruiz. You know, so he has to do a lot more. And I mean, Joshua came back and got Andy Ruiz.
And fought the right
We'll
fight.
see if Michael Coffey does the same thing.
All right. Well, we're going to take a
Well,
quick. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Well, don't forget that Coffey is an ex-Marine, so what's next for him is probably the GI Bill. But listen, at 35, but hey, I tell you what, it's going to be hard. He got to go back to the drawing board, like Luther said, but not for the reasons Luther said. Coffey is like not a Ezra Charles, but a Jersey Joe Walcott. His style makes him. People don't want to fight him. When he's on, he can be as good.
I think a lot of people
and-
would have fight him now after they
Man,
see the way
listen,
Jordan
he had-
Rice
real
beat
popular
that
now,
guy.
yeah.
Hey, he
Everybody
got,
wants
he
to
got
fight him.
beat,
Come on,
but
Jim.
he got that left hand, that wicked left hand that he can throw to the body and the head, and he's a very clever type fighter, man.
can't
Do you
handle
think
a
you
jab.
just think he picked a bad day to have a
He
bad
had
day?
a bad day. A lot of these guys are going to start beating each other. I'm telling you, the heavyweight division is as good as it's been in years,
Ooh.
man.
Really?
Yes, man.
Jim,
this
what
is
are you
a heavyweight.
watching?
I don't agree with that.
What are you
but
watching?
you know what though? It could be a bunch of mediocre. After the top 3, it seems like a lot of mediocre fighters, which are competitive fights.
But see, what I love is, and this is the problem with boxing, because I love the Gotti and Mickey Ward. I like 2 evenly matched fighters that are warriors in there. That's a great fight.
no D.
I'll pay for that.
And
I
no
don't-
D.
Maybe they're not the greatest fighters of all time, but they're great fights of all
Great
time.
fights and no D.
And
no
we got a lot of these
offense.
guys we can match up like that.
Well,
and
Jim
really,
makes a point.
But I don't think that means it's a great heavyweight.
No,
It means
it
it's
means that
competitive,
everybody's around the same level, but they're not great.
C-level,
Yeah.
a lot of C-level
you
guys.
got a Cassius Clay out there, Anthony Cassius Clay
Oh.
Joshua. So you always got somebody great
I
already.
got to see him go 3 fights without quitting.
Really.
I still need to see more from him.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Michael Hunter-Mike Wilson fight. That had some ramifications in heavyweight division, ranking-wise. So right back with the boxing authorities. All right, well, thank you for coming back to the Boxing Authorities. Another heavyweight fight with some rankings involved. This is Michael Hunter, who is now he's 20-1 with a 4th-round TKO against Mike Wilson, who is now he was undefeated. He's 21-1. Hunter was ranked. He's 33 years old, ranked number 6 by the WBC, and he's had some named fights, but he had a draw with Povetkin.
And that,
Okay.
I saw that fight, and he beat Alexander
him.
Povetkin. But again, He was a guy who was supposed to lose
Right.
Povetkin. You know, he knocked Povetkin down and still only got a draw.
Right.
I
He
thought
should
it
have
was
won.
a draw.
Then he
It
beat.
was definitely. He definitely won that one.
He lost to Alexander Usyk.
Yeah,
which-
and I think that was a cruiserweight he
yes,
lost to him.
yeah. And so my question is, do you believe in Hunter? Do you think that he has a shot to? Again, we talk about Fury and Wilder and Joshua. Those are the big three. But do you think he has a chance to crack the Joyce, Ruiz, Ortiz, Parker, Dillian White?
No, he loses to Wilder, Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, Joe Joyce. They all beat him.
Okay, Joe Joyce too? Okay.
Joseph Parker, I think he might have a chance against Joseph Parker. I'm not really impressed with Joseph Parker at all. So he can be in that mix, but I think once he faces those big guys, you know, he's not the biggest heavyweight.
Right.
A couple years ago, he was fighting that cruiserweight. But I like his hustle. I like his dedication to the sport, but I just don't think he has the power and size to stand up to a Anthony Joshua or, Deontay Wilder.
I think Ruiz
Tyson
would give him a
Fury.
hard time.
Ruiz, right. I don't think he's up there, or Luis Ortiz.
He has to stay away from people named Alexander or Alexander, whatever. But what are your thoughts on Hunter?
Well, you know, Michael, the bounty hunter, needs about 100 unanswered punches and a baseball bat to get his man. Hey, listen, like I said before, in the heavyweight division now, there's a great air because Michael Hunter can beat anybody and he can get beat by anybody. I wouldn't put past Jonathan Rice beating him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be an
that'd be
interesting
an interesting
fight.
fight. Now,
you know?
you talk about managing fighters. That would be an interesting fight because that would really elevate Rice. But, you know, to your point, Jim, I
Or
understand.
would make Hunter want to go back down to cruiserweight.
Yeah, but right, exactly. But because he's much bigger. Rice is much bigger than Hunter. Yeah.
And
But-
I know him.
And I think we have some video of that. Can we run some of that, Michael? And he did, like you said, he did
Is
look
there any
pretty
video
good
of
on
Jim
that.
and Jonathan Rice at the
I'm still
barbershop?
searching for that one. It wasn't at the barbershop, that's for sure. But listen, like I said, not the biggest heavyweight. You know, I like what he's doing. He's done some stuff on Triller, who's
Yeah,
trying
good
to get
hands.
back in here.
Nice uppercut.
Quick hands. You know, good D.
That was nice.
Sneaky right hand
That
was
was nice.
amazing. I mean, I was really impressed. 21-1, 14 knockouts. He got the body vest, the bounty hunter. He looked solid in that fight. Now, the guy he was fighting wasn't very good.
No.
He wasn't very good. But
The one thing, though, that I worry about with Hunter is if he tries to gain more weight, because I don't think it's going to be muscle. You've seen it's starting to get maybe a touch flab. But I think he's got a nice pop to him. He's got a nice punch. We don't know what kind of punch he can take. But
Can I ask you a question,
Yes,
Claudio?
sir.
Is something wrong with the economy? Wilson and Hunter at Madison Square Garden? You kidding me?
I know.
it was
You kidding me?
It was a Triller fight.
hey.
Jim.
Well, you know what? That's my point. When you said about the division being great, it's not
Bruno
great.
is rolling over in his grave.
Who sold out Madison Square Garden?
You're
more than
you're
anybody.
dating yourself.
But am I
That
right
was-
though?
That was listen. First of all, that event also was that wasn't even the headline event.
Who was
it was,
the
It was a
headline? Who
concert.
was the
It was the
headline?
Locks versus Dipset, a rap
A
versus
concert?
battle. Yes.
That's where we're at.
That's where
That's
you're
where we're
at.
at. But that's my point. Jim said that you love the division right now, but really outside of the big three, Ruiz, I give him credit. I'm not gonna.
You all better start put some respect on Luis Ortiz.
Yeah,
for
but he's
what?
100. He's getting too old now.
And everybody's ducking him.
Well, whatever the case is,
Why don't
he's
you
not,
fight him? If
they
he's so
don't-
old,
that's-
why
he's
won't
not gonna bring
anybody
any
fight
money.
him? How many of these guys are going to bring money, Claudio?
The big three.
Okay, outside of that, why isn't anybody fighting him?
Well,
exactly.
but they're not gonna take
My
a
point
chance.
proven
Okay,
is
but I'm
because
saying,
he's one of the
but
best.
you agree that the rest of the division, like Eddie, I always say this before. Eddie Murphy, on one of his concerts, one time said, "If you haven't eaten in a long time, and somebody gives you a Ritz cracker," I said, "Damn, that's the best thing I've ever eaten." There's really nothing out there. Okay, Hunter. I mean, yeah, he's got a nice right, and he's a nice fighter. But is he a pay-per-view guy? Is he a stud? Nah. I mean, who out there besides
Claudio,
the big three?
There's not that many.
Right.
First of all,
right.
I think too many
my
events
point
are
is,
paper. There's
Jim
not
said that it's a
many.
great division. I don't think it's a great division.
I agree with you. It's not a
It's
great
mediocre.
division.
Outside of the big three,
It's not. It's a
mediocre.
bunch. It's a lot of C-level guys.
Right.
You know, once you get
And,
past
but it'll be
Luis
competitive,
Ortiz.
though.
That's what
it'll
I
be
love.
it'll be competitive.
It'll be competitive.
Right.
But that's my problem. These guys are not fighting enough. You know,
I'm
if
with
a
you there, too.
heavyweight fights twice a year, you're like, wow. He
What did
fought a lot.
I say about Jonathan Rice? You fought in August, fight in October. It isn't like he got banged around. He got cut. He should keep going because he's still in shape.
And it looks
Get
like
momentum.
He's ready, yeah, it
like
looks
you
like
care.
he's ready to go. Right.
That's one thing about
see him
Ruiz.
again.
I give him credit. He lost the belt, but he wanted to get back in it again. To me, that shows, hey, I'm serious about this. If Jonathan Rice is serious about it, let me fight somebody in October. And maybe Hunter. Hunter really didn't have that wasn't a big.
Let him get rid of some of his ones first. Enjoy himself.
he probably will get rid of it. But so, would you like to see that fight?
What
And
Hunter
who
Rice?
who would you pick?
Wow. It all depends on what Rice
See, just
comes
by you
in.
said, wow, that's a good fight.
Would you
that's
pay
a
for it,
competitive
Lou?
fight.
Would you
I'd
pay
watch
for
it.
it, Lou?
What pay-per-view?
No, nobody's
it wouldn't
gonna
be
do
on
pay-per-view.
I'll
pay-per-view.
pay for that.
It would be pay-per-view.
Would you watch it?
I would
Hell yeah,
definitely
I'd
watch
watch
it.
it.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a competitive fight because we don't know what Jonathan Rice is going to show up. We know Michael Hunter always comes to fight.
Yep.
That's the difference. So I would give the advantage to Michael Hunter in that fight.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Because I don't know what Jonathan Rice
Okay.
is going to show up. Is he going to be the one that came and took it to Mike Coffey, or is he going to
Casey
be the one who
Stengel
laid
once-
down against F.A. Ajagba?
Casey Stengel, the great Yankee manager, one time said, "One great game does not a great player make."
Right.
So I'm with you there. Who would you pick between Hunter and Rice?
Rice will beat him half to death.
I'm going with Rice. I'm believing in Rice. I really
you
am.
guys fall in
I'm-
love
I'm-
with these guys after one fight.
But you know what? Though? I think we fell in love with his physicality, and he looked good.
I
He
saw
was-
him I
although
saw the
Hunter
physicality
looked-
against him, against F.A. and 5 other people.
But I
so
think
one
he's a
fight is
changed
not
man.
going to change all the time.
I think
saw
he's a
him quit.
changed man. Jim took him to the barbershop, gave him a little talk. I think
They
he's a
cut
new
all his
man.
hair off.
They cut now another fight that we were talking about was Canelo against Plant. That is gone, and they said Canelo wanted too many things. Whatever the case was, they're off. Now there's talk about him fighting Dimitri Bivol, which I like that fight. I know you're not crazy about Bivol, but I think
Canelo will punish that man.
think so?
He's another stiff,
Or else-
European-style fighter.
Right.
He's going to stand there, and Canelo's just going to wail away at him. Canelo will have his way with Dimitri Bivol. I'm not impressed
Bivol's
with that
beating
at
some
all.
pretty good names. Pasquale, who I liked a lot. Joe Smith, who's all right. Castillo, he beat Castillo.
None of those.
Craig Richards, but they were tough, and he beat him. I know.
Claudio,
But
are they A-level fighters?
No.
B-level
No.
fighters?
Pascal is. Joe
He's
Smith,
about
some
C.
people
I
say
say
B.
I say there's
B
C.
minus,
There's a couple
C
C's
for C
in there.
plus for Joe Smith.
There are a couple C-level
But he
fighters
did well
in there.
against them, and this is his big shot. And I think it would. I didn't say he's going to beat him, but
Another
I think it'll be
showcase for Canelo.
interesting fight, or else Canelo wouldn't fight him. But I think it's an interesting fight. What do you think about that fight, if it happens?
Well, the one thing I really love about Bivol is he don't have a detached retina. And this is a guy. He's been in there. He fought everybody. Listen, he's stepping up in competition with a living legend. Everybody wants to fight Canelo. He's getting the
money is.
opportunity to make a nice payday and to tell his grandkids he got knocked out by one of the greatest of all
Do you think
time.
it'll be a competitive fight? I'm not saying he's going to win. I think it'll be competitive for a few rounds.
Canelo may carry him, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Canelo's going to punish him.
Do
I
you
don't
think
know
Canelo Plant will ever happen?
I think it still may happen. I mean, because Canelo wants to get that undisputed title. He's never gotten it. He's had a great career, but never was
Where you
undisputed.
getting
I think
this
it will
from?
happen.
Where you getting this from?
Where am I get what from? It was
Where you-
supposed to happen. He's
Where you
never
getting
been
this from?
undisputed. Has he been undisputed before?
Well, you said he wants to have
He
that.
wa- he
He don't
said
care.
it.
He
He
goes
said
after
it.
belts. He goes after.
He said he wanted undisputed at 168.
When did he say
Jim.
that? You talk.
He said
You
it
talking
after
his
his-
language?
After his last fight.
How did he say it? How
After
did
his
he say
last
it?
fight, he said he wanted undisputed at 168. When he beat Billy
Quote
Joe
him. Quote him.
Saunders.
Quote him.
He says, I want Caleb
Okay.
Plant next.
Allegra means happiness in Italian.
Jim. You know one word.
Before we go to our next break, Jim wanted to talk about a card that was here locally and some fighters there. Jim, go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, I tell you what, man. There's a local living legend heavyweight that was a great amateur named Mike Manna that brought a lot of. I drove all the way from Pennsylvania to West Virginia to watch that
With no
card.
gas money, but that's another story.
And he ended up beating a guy who fought very well against the real big baby, Gerald Anderson. So this guy wasn't no stumble bum. He was about 6'5", about 250 pounds, and it was a split decision. But I had Manna winning 3 out of the 4 rounds.
Okay.
But what impressed me There's a trainer that I got a lot of respect for named Joe Board.
Yeah.
He's pretty much known for, amateur boxing, but he has some pretty good pros. He got a guy, now I don't know his nationality, named Nelson Bess, that's 6'2", 285 pounds in shape. And he is 4-0 with 4 knockouts. And I tell you what, after the fight, I begged Joe Board not to put this guy in there with Mike Manning because I didn't want to see Mike get hurt. But this guy is a tear. Remember that name, Nelson Bess, and I'll try to get his nationality. I sat by his mom.
Is that
he looked
important,
just
Jim?
like his mom.
Is that important, Jim?
Yeah, he looked
Okay.
just like his mom. And yeah, it's important after the Olympics, and the guy wins 100 meters from Italy, and I'm bragging, but the guy ended up being black. I didn't know he was
We'll
black.
take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We haven't had.
Oh, yeah,
we've
it's
never
important.
won
I
these
wanna
before.
find
We'll take
out.
it.
He said he's Italian. He's Italian.
He learned to run from his dad because when he was 6 months old, his dad ran, never came back.
Jim has always the inside scoop. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
Smokopedia with his Smokopedia facts.
So you think this Best has a chance to climb the ladder?
I think he has a chance
And where's
to
he gonna
be.
go weight-wise?
He
You said
reminds
6'2",
me of Tua.
285?
He reminds me of Tua
He's going to
with a mean streak.
How much does he weigh?
285
And at
pounds in
6'2",
shape.
6'2".
In shape,
Damn.
285. And everything he hits, he destroys. He comes in the ring, raw, woo, wah, wah. I mean, he come in ready, man. Yeah, he's an intimidator. And I tell you what, I spoke with him for about a half hour. We broke a little bread.
And now then he was 281.
Yeah.
You
We
was 285. What you mean?
We
You
broke
had
a
some
little
food
bread
left?
afterwards, me, him, and his mama. But I tell you what, man, remember that name, Nelson Bess.
All right.
All right. From West Virginia.
See if we can manage his career.
He may be from Ohio.
Ohio.
He fought in West Virginia.
See if we can manage his career. We'll make him some money now,
we'll
Jim.
make
You
you
know
some
that.
money.
What's that, Luke?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say Joe Board. I remember he did
Yes.
wonders.
Fred Latham,
Fred
yeah.
Latham looked great when he was under his tutelage.
Yes, he
The
did.
best I've ever seen Fred look. He won a belt with him.
Yeah.
Prayers up for Freddie Latham.
Well, he won a West Virginia belt, yeah.
Yeah,
he
it's
was
a
on
belt.
his
It's a
way.
belt.
Is he all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad car accident,
Oh,
man.
jeez.
So yeah.
Okay. All right, definitely prayers to Freddie. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about most underrated fighters, who we thought were underrated fighters, and we'll get to our popular segment, the mailbag. We're right back with the boxing authorities. Okay, one of our segments that we like to do, we have most overrated, we have a bunch of great segments, but this one we're going to do the most underrated fighters. Luther, I'll start with you. Who's
He
some
ain't
of the guys?
prepared. He ain't prepared.
Now I'm going to steal one of your guys. I agree with you, man. I think Vinnie Paz is definitely one of the most underrated fighters, man.
There you go.
I loved him. What he's come back from.
Right.
Going up against Roy Jones Jr. after breaking his neck in a car accident. You got to put him under there. Is one of the most underrated. I think another guy.
Read Claudio's
No,
notes.
another guy is Luis Ortiz.
I don't have him on mine, though. I don't have Luis Ortiz on mine.
Heavyweight, southpaw. He was winning a couple fights against Wilder. We don't know if he's 35 or he's 45. All we know is
I've never
nobody
heard
will
you
fight
like
him.
anybody more on Ortiz.
Listen,
You got him beating Muhammad Ali.
Oh, I didn't say all that now. But listen, this guy, he should have fought Anthony Joshua. He took step-aside money. Anthony Joshua wanted no parts of him. Gave him step-aside money. Said, let me fight Klitschko. I'll get the belt and I'll fight you. Went off running, never fought him. A lot of guys were supposed to fight him, and they wouldn't. I need to see Ortiz get it. I think he's been so disrespected in the heavyweight division. It's a shame. It's criminal what's happened to him and Rigondeaux, because they're
Rigondeaux.
from Cuba.
Yeah.
They're Cuban school. They had to deflect, came over here late, and, it's a shame they didn't get the big fights, and their talent warrants that. So I would say those three.
All right.
Rigondeaux, Luis Ortiz, and Vinnie Paz.
All right. Do we have any video? I think we do have some. Do we?
Yeah,
look
we
at-
have-
yeah. Let's show a little Vinnie Paz video. You know what? Vinnie and I have been close for well over since 1991. I love Vinnie, and so maybe I'm being biased here, but the man never took a round off. Fought at different weight classes, won 5 world titles in 3 weight classes, finished with a 50-10 record, never ducked anybody, fought everybody. Again, they at one point they said 3 guys could draw a crowd without a belt: Mike Tyson, George Foreman, and Vinnie Paz.
Look at the style, man.
And he always had style, from his first fight to his last fight. And then to come back from a broken neck.
Amazing.
And this is very true. When he first started, look at this. He wasn't supposed to do anything. He was not supposed to move,
dedication.
And he gained muscle and weight. And again, when you have a halo screwed to your head, you're not supposed to do a damn thing. And look what he did. And then when his first fight back is this against right there, Santana, who became a champion. So Vinnie did not fight somebody who was 6-20-3. He fought a guy. He fought a guy who was going to be a future champion. And I hope we have the fight with Melvin Paul when he throws a big right-handed punch. But Vinnie is one of the all-time greats, and beat Roberto Duran twice. Yeah, Roberto was older, but that's okay. Vinnie could hit, could dance, could move. He was a boxer, puncher. Again, an entertainer. There's no way in the world Vinnie should not be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. And his name keeps coming up. He gets close, but he's got to get in. He's got to get in.
They need to have you. They need to have you pushing this case.
I will push it, and I have. I've written. I've talked to some writers that I know, and we're trying to get him in. But in all honesty, it shouldn't be the case. I mean, his record. And look at his record. Look who he's fought. Sure, he lost to Camacho. He lost to some, but he also beat some guys. And again, 5 world titles. At 5'6", he used to say I'm 5'6.5" on a good hair day. But he won lightweight, junior lightweight, I think junior welter, super middle. I mean, and he was a draw, and he never took a round off. And again, his first fight coming back from a broken neck, 11 months later, or 12, I'm not sure, he fought Luis Santana, who became a champion. He did not fight a guy who was with a terrible record. Vinnie, without question, is an underrated fighter, belongs in the Hall of Fame. And they should do it for their own sake, because I guarantee you, they announced Vinnie Paz as a guest, people flock.
I would go.
Yeah.
We'd go. And then when he gets inducted, he'll pack the place.
Yes,
Vinnie
will.
Paz, Zelen real quick, Carmen Basilio. Yeah, the 2 Italians. That's right. It's just a coincidence.
Onion farmer.
You look. There was a magazine I got years ago, the greatest title fights of all time. Basilio was in like 6 of them.
Wow.
He fought. The man fought.
Yes.
But you don't hear him a lot. Okay, great. Not a stylistic guy, not a colorful guy like Vinnie, but he went in there and just fought you.
Right.
And he took some shots, but he gave you some shots. Those are the 2 guys that, and I still would like to see my boy over here give Buster Douglas a little more credit. But other than that, Jim, you're up.
Well, Vinnie Paz is the Harold Carmichael of the Hall of Fame. I thought Harold Carmichael was in years ago, and I thought Vinnie Paz was in as well. But my underrated fighter, and he'll probably come back as a worm, because the worm's been eating him for the last 50 years, is Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston is 24th. 25 kids. His dad beat him, used him as a mule. He grew up fast. He's like Floyd Mayweather. He never learned to read or write. He left his house to go to St. Louis to be with his mother. And this is a guy over 100 arrests. Used to beat up police, beat up everybody in jail. But this is a guy, he was so great. He's the only fighter in the history of boxing that was the #1 contender for 6 years when they only had 1 belt.
Right.
You know what I mean? He could not even get a championship bout sanctioned in this country, but in 1 or 2 different states. And if it wasn't for one of the greatest presidents of any country, President Kennedy, forced Floyd Patterson to fight him, and he beat him to death. Listen, this is a guy twice. He was born in 1919. He was 45 to 47 years old when he fought Cassius Clay. But this is a guy, his jab was devastating.
Yeah.
He had probably the best, hardest jab of all time, and he could knock you out with either hand. He had 84-inch reach, which is longer than some of these guys that's 6'7" now. They don't have an 84-inch reach. And he had a 15-inch fist that he had to custom make his boxing glove. So if this guy could have fought in his prime, the civil rights leaders, Dr. Martin Luther King, all of them did not want him to have the heavyweight title because he wasn't good for colored people at that time, which is now black or African American, because of all the arrests. You know, they wanted a guy like Floyd Patterson or, somebody like that. To hold the
Real
title.
quick question. When you said those things,
They marched against it.
real quick, because we got to get to
Come
our
on, now, you taking it too far.
we got to get to our mailbag. But Jack Johnson and Sonny Liston,
Yes.
different issues, but
Yeah.
they both went through hell.
Yes,
but
they
they
did.
still were able to accomplish.
Yes.
I mean, that goes a long way for me.
Yes.
I mean, it isn't that they wake up, train, fight, win, and that's it. No, there was a lot of things that they had to overcome, but they overcame them. I mean, and so to me, yes, he's underrated, but he should be given even more. Both those men should be given even more credit for, and same with Muhammad Ali too. And everybody has a story, but those guys, like you said, they went against Sonny. They did not want him to fight.
And Sonny Liston's the only black man that I know that had more Italian friends than me.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to get to our boxing mailbag segment. Keep sending the mailbag. Our email will be at the bottom of the screen here, hopefully. But anyway, this is for Jim. Sam from New York. Jim, I saw you have a picture taken with Mike Tyson. What kind of a guy was he?
I tell you what, Mike Tyson, when I brought him to Pittsburgh for the first
And
time.
he didn't ask me, Luther, to. He said he was
Yeah.
going to do it, but he didn't do it.
I did a 5-page newspaper story on Iron Mike Tyson right after he filed bankruptcy after going through $300 million. And I tell you what, this is the only athlete ever been around. Now, I've never been around Pazienza, but I've been around a lot of professional athletes. Mike Tyson would literally wait 2 or 3 hours and sign every autograph for anybody that's online on Monday. On Tuesday, he'll look at you like he don't know you. But no matter where we went, all he wanted to do was play with the pigeons, catch pigeons. He can catch a pigeon now.
I know that.
And just a great guy.
All right,
Yeah.
good. That's good to hear. This is from all three of us, or for all three of us. Joe from Bethel Park. What boxers were mentioned in our homes when we were growing up? Luther?
Well, of course.
Anybody
Muhammad Ali.
white?
Well, of course, Muhammad Ali was mentioned, just the greatest. You know, my era, I didn't see Jack Johnson like Smoking Jim
Harvey, Catchall.
or Marciano like you, Claudio. But definitely Muhammad Ali. Tyson was in his prime, Evander Holyfield. Those were the guys mentioned. I mean, I just grew up with those stories. I remember watching it with my dad and my grandpa, and they would tell me about Jack Johnson and different people that they've watched. But yeah, Muhammad Ali was just the greatest.
All right.
Big pictures hung up on our wall of Muhammad Ali. Not only just what he meant, in the ring, but outside
sure.
the ring, standing up as a man.
Sure.
And, he's definitely one of my heroes.
All right. Well, for me,
Rocky.
Marciano, Rocky Graziano. My mom used to go crazy for Nino Benvenuti, who was the middleweight champ, big-time fighter. My mom loved him. And Muhammad Ali. When he lost to Spinks, we cried. We really did. In February of 78, depressed because you just love Muhammad Ali. And my mom used to love Joe Frazier a lot. So Rocky Marciano, Rocky Graziano, Nino Benvenuti. My dad also liked Primo Canera and Muhammad Ali. That's when I was a kid growing up. Jim, real quick.
Well, my dad was a fighter, and my uncle was a great fighter, Buster Frazier. He went to jail, and I don't know if you remember when Sports Illustrated did a thing. They had professional boxing in jail. They wanted to feature him. He beat up Don King in jail. They was in the same federal prison, and then later on they killed him in jail. So we talked about him a lot. And then we
Where else
talked
you gonna get stories like this?
We talked about Cassius Clay and Muhammad
Wait,
Ali.
Don King did that?
No, my uncle beat the snot out of Don King in jail. Don King was an intimidator in jail, but my uncle was the prison champion
I heard
for
Don
years.
King got a couple bodies on
Yeah,
him.
he
so-
got a couple. But he probably got my uncle because they killed my uncle in jail. But anyhow, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, and those heavyweights. My dad loved Jerry Quarry. We loved
yes.
Jerry Quarry.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, all right. Well, again, where else are you going to get that kind of story? right?
That's right.
Boxing authorities. You come here for all this stuff. You know, I saw along. We are a variety show. We just don't talk about last week's fights, next week's fights. We talk about all kind of
Jail
stuff.
fights.
We're all- jail
Jail
fights.
fights. Don't
And
King
fights
get
in
people in
wait,
jail.
what's the one? Not Clarion. Where did he fight more? Was that guy fight?
Madison.
No.
Michael
He
Moore.
fought Charleroi.
Charleroi.
We give it to you all, man. We give it to you all. All right. As always, Luther Dupree, Smoking Jim Frazier, I'm Claudio Relsano. Thank you so much for tuning into the Boxing Authorities. Talk to you next time.